Oh, motherfucker. Better than food, man. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent, fooling around with things I shouldn't be. In any case, let's get this show on the road. Let it be light. Hey! The tarot plays heavily into the novel I am reviewing today, Nightmare Alley by William Lindsay Gresham. You see, what I've done is I've assigned a name of each patron who's donated $5 or more to the show on Patreon to a tarot card. So I'm going to draw a card, and they are going to receive a hard copy of Nightmare Alley by William Lindsay Gresham. Man, that's a beautiful cover. With an introduction by Nick Toshis. Not only that, they're also going to receive a bag of coffee roasted by yours truly from Sargent Coffee. So who will it be? Now things get interesting. So 32 patrons, 32 names, 32 cards. Each one assigned. Shuffle a bit. All right, here we go. Split the deck. That's what's going to happen. And then I'm going to look at the card on the bottom. So there's the deck. Here we go. Come up there. The Page of Cups. Hayden. The Page of Cups. Oh, I think he's going to like that one. Good deal. All right. Hayden, Nightmare Alley, and some coffee coming your way. If you'd like to get in on this book and coffee giveaway, you can head on over to patreon.com/booksarebetterthanfood. If you donate $5 or more per video, then you get entered into the drawing for each review where I send away a hard copy of the book and a bag of coffee that I roast myself. You know, this is the first tarot deck I've ever owned. I got it specifically for this review. But I realized when I was looking through the cards that I actually grew up in a house with this, a large print of this card in the bathroom, the Lovers. I never knew what it was from, so it was interesting to see that. Yeah, I grew up looking at that every day when I had to pee. Hope everyone is doing well out there. I'm very excited to bring you this review finally. This is an incredible, incredible novel. Perfect for Halloween, perfect for October, perfect for fall, all that good stuff. Nothing like it. Never read anything like it. It's brilliant. We never escape the things that truly haunt us. They're as much a part of us as our blood, as our skin. You can either face them head on or you can let them swallow you. In the end, everyone is swallowed. Such seems to be the cynical point of view taken by the author of Nightmare Alley, William Lindsay Gresham. And what a nightmare it is. It's one of the scariest novels I've ever read. Not for the acts of violence or not for the strange, weird, low-life characters, but because of the cycle of addiction and self-sabotage that it displays. Far too realistically for anyone's comfort. Published in 1946, Nightmare Alley is as if Nick Toshis wrote the novel of Todd Browning's Freaks. Structured with the title of each chapter as a card in the tarot, corresponding to the cards in the tarot, as if you were reading the personal fortune of a doomed man. It's a crime pulp novel with depth. Nick Toshis, if you haven't had the pleasure, is a notorious hard-boiled New York writer of dark, gritty fiction and music biographies. And he wrote the brilliant introduction for Nightmare Alley. I read on a blog he actually ended up buying the tarot deck that Gresham owned. He got a hold of that. Gresham also wrote a biography on Houdini, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was a big influence on Toshis and his music biographies. Nightmare Alley concerns the rise and fall of Stan Carlisle, a young guy working in the carny. The characters in this carny are reminiscent of real-life circus freaks, real famous people. Again, Todd Browning's Freaks would be the film to reference, for sure. There's a vicious dwarf in here named Major Mosquito. There's a character in Freaks very similar to that. He's really mean, he's just evil. He's like mean-spirited. He's just a bastard. But he looks like a baby. But he dresses up and he's got this really foul mouth and he gets shit-faced drunk all the time. He's just an awful character. There's Joe Plasky, who looks like he has no lower half. Looks like he was born without the bottom half of his body because his legs never grew. They were stunted, and so he just ties them up and hides them. So he walks on his hands, which is based off the character, it must be based off the character Johnny Eck, a real-life guy who was also in Freaks. Tabletop Joe, if you're a Tom Waits fan, he wrote a song about him, which is great. In short, it's a story about a guy who joins the band of carnies, learns some tricks, because everybody's faking it, everybody's hustling. Then he starts making some bad decisions, then he starts making more of them. He ends up indirectly killing a man, another guy in the carny, so he can sleep with his wife. And then he runs off with another girl and he begins rising to the top of the spook racket game. Okay? So fake seances, fake conjurings, tying it in with religion, tying it in with spiritualism or mentalism, and developing this very complex, elaborate fraud that he puts on for people. And it just builds layer by false layer by false layer until he destroys his only chance at true love or honest love, and losing everything in the process because of his inabilities to confront and deal with his past. Money's all he really cares about, right? He even says, nothing matters in this goddamn lunatic asylum of a world but dough. It's not gonna end well, but the way it's written is so unique and realistic in its grittiness, realistic in its atmosphere, realistic in its characters, the language that they use, the slang, the attitude. The attitude is really palpable. It's really on point. You believe these characters in their lurking among the scum, right? It feels lived, in part. The writing employs carny slang of the era effortlessly. Like Tasha says in the introduction, it's never affected. It's always natural and effective. The Nightmare Alley refers to a dream of the character. Running down an alley in a city at night. Running from something that's gaining on him. Running towards the light that's never reached. Until whatever's chasing him finally gets him. And he never escapes. So this is from a moment in the circus where Xena, one of Stan's lovers, the one with the husband who he indirectly killed, is reading somebody's fortune in the crowd. And he's a guy who wants to go north for a job. And Stan looks down upon everybody in the crowd. They're suckers, they're marks, they're just money, right? He's smarter than all of them, of course, in his opinion. He's smarter than all of them, and that's why he takes advantage of them. That's why he uses them. It was surefire. All of them want north, Stan thought. It was the dark alley all over again, with a light at the end of it. Ever since he was a kid, Stan had had the dream. He was running down a dark alley, the buildings vacant and black and menacing on either side. Far down at the end of it, a light burned, but there was something behind him, close behind him, getting closer until he woke up trembling and never reached the light. They have it too. The crowd, the people in the crowd. A nightmare alley. The north isn't the end. The light will only move further on, and the fear close behind them. White and black, it made no difference. The geek and his bottle, staving off the clutch of the thing that came following after. In the hot sun of noon, the cold breath could strike your neck, and having a woman, her arms were a barrier. But after she had fallen asleep, the walls of the alley closed in on your own sleep, and the footsteps followed. It seems that Gresham knew that alley very well. William Lindsay Gresham was an alcoholic. True blue alcoholic, and a mean one, it seems. Like Tasha writes in the intro, booze is so strong an element in the novel that it can almost be said to be a character. It's pervasive. The whole thing is saturated in it. It's everywhere in the novel, and it acts both as sort of a savior for the characters when they're stressed, like forgetting anxieties, but it's also, of course, the bringer of hell on earth, of pain, misery, failure, and unfathomable humiliation. That's the side represented the strongest in Nightmare Alley. Alcohol is integral to the whole impetus, the whole catalyst for the novel, for the story. The book begins with Stan asking one of his higher-ups about the carny geek, right? How do you find a carny geek? The geek in the carny is the guy who bites the head off of chickens and snakes, as long as you feed him alcohol. It's about as low of an existence as humanly possible. So here's the story behind that. Gresham was a volunteer medic during the Spanish Civil War. While he was over there in 1939 in a little village near Valencia, beautiful city, you should check it out if you can, while drinking presumably, he heard about the story of the geek. He heard about the concept of the geek from a guy. A man who has sunk so low that he travels with the circus, crawling around in the mud and biting the heads off of chickens and snakes. so long as he's given his much-needed booze. Gresham said he was so horrified by this story that there was only one way to get rid of it. Write it out. That's the beginning of the book, Stan witnessing and asking, how do you find a geek, right? But the question isn't how do you find a geek? The question is, how do you make a geek? The book also foretells Gresham's own descent. He didn't become a circus geek, but he was on top after its publication. He got quite a bit of money, and then it was optioned into a film. They made an adaptation, and it was successful. It was apparently a very good film noir, which I have not seen yet, but I would love to, and I'm going to watch as soon as I get a chance. But then he lost it all due to alcohol, it seems, unable to take advantage of the opportunity given him. Eventually losing so much, including his wife, the poet Joy Davidman, to C.S. Lewis, of all people, that he decided that the only thing left to lose was himself. And he did so, by his own hand. Gresham had attempted suicide when he was younger, by hanging, before Nightmare Alley. And it's interesting that the last chapter of the novel is indeed The Hanged Man. In the Hotel Dixie in New York, which is now the Hotel Carter by Times Square, still there, he took his own life, overdosing on sleeping pills. By that point, I think he had cancer and was also going blind, I think. It just sounded like his health was totally deteriorating and he had basically lost everything, so. Inside his pocket, they found these business cards. They said no address, no business, no phone, no money, retired. And on the back, you would rather die than face truth. Seriously. They still exist, too. Gresham was obviously very interested in religion and spook rackets, the hustlers, the tricksters, the sideshow frauds. But, very present in here is also his search for meaning, his search for some sort of substantial religious ideology or some sort of foundation to stand on, In his criticism of religion in the book, he basically sees it as one more racket, right? One more hustle. You see a real parallel with preaching and fortune-telling in the book. For Gresham, that kind of preaching bravado and the fortune-tellers they're not that different. Interestingly enough, Gresham was an early proponent of Scientology. We'll talk about rackets. But eventually he brushed it off. But it's interesting to see how he was a man looking for answers, and he never found them. Not in spiritualism, or Christianity, or women, or family, or philosophy, or Alcoholics Anonymous. Nothing. He was a man with some serious demons, and he never escaped them. Just like his characters, who never escaped being trapped in the Nightmare Alley. I've never come across a novel like this one. It's completely unique. The plot is not so much important as just the atmosphere, the texture of it, the characters, the era, the slang, the small town Americana, the grittiness of down and out hustlers, but mixed with this kind of like bizarro Coney Island Gothic vibe, and the mixture of the tarot deck and the psychics and all this stuff. I mean, it's just so film noir. You can just watch it as you read in your head, and it's beautiful. I loved it, but that's my stuff. I'm all about that era. So yeah, real good for October. Real good one. Better than food. It ain't a happy ending. Spoiler, right? This is for fans of Saline, of Hampson maybe, Welbeck, Ligotti, Bernhard, and of course Tacitus, This is depressing, pulpy, dark fiction. If you're into exploring that kind of dark mood once a year during the season of the witch, Nightmare Alley may be right up your alley. Better than food, by far. If you're going to purchase it, if you could do so at the Amazon link below so the channel gets a little kickback, I'd really appreciate it. And you can enter into the giveaway drawings, the giveaway lottery, by going to patreon.com/booksarebetterthanfood and donating $5 or more per video. Thank you very much. You can also hit me up if you'd like some of this coffee before it goes on the market. I've been roasting all kinds of delicious coffee. Hopefully that store is going to be opened up in the future, and I'm going to combine this whole book and coffee thing into one entity. Always remember, life is far too short to read bullshit. If you give me a like on Facebook, I'm trying to get to 1,000. I would really appreciate it. It'd only take you like 20 seconds, and that would really make my day. If you'd like a critique or an opinion of your writing, you can hit me up at booksarebetterthanfood@gmail.com. I charge $50 an hour. You can send me your novel, your poetry, your screenplay, your short story, your blog post, whatever. And we can have a dialogue, and hopefully I can give you something of value that will help push you forward. Please subscribe if you have not already. Hope you're all doing well. Great to see you, of course. Happy October. Talk to you soon. Take care. Ciao.